a great pleasure and honor to welcome you to this important event, therefore, which is earmarked to the launching of these products, which we will hear in detail once the honorable ministers give their formal statements thereof. We know too well, and no need for elaborate overemphasis, that SMEs is an important sector in terms of job creation, in terms of economic activity, and the wealth creation. And if you look at the youth group as well, ours being a youth group society, it is therefore appropriate to have targeted products that target that group of the market. And therefore, this event today is a milestone event in this regard. In particular, the specific products that we will be launched today are 4 in number. They are products that 2 products within the SME financing strategy. The government, together with stakeholders, have crafted what we call an SME financing strategy, which has 3 products that are targeted at the SME sector. And 2 of those products will be launched today. The third product will be launched later. So it's the credit guarantee scheme which will be launched today. The details will be here. And then the mentorship and the coaching program which will also be launched. So those are 2 of the 3 products in the SME financing strategy. Then today we will also witness the launch of the skills-based lending facility for the youth. And this looks specifically started to the youth group and specific categories that will be targeted. You will hear the details later. Today also the 4th facility that will be launched is the 121 constituency youth enterprises. This is a facility which is part and parcel of the interventions in the Harambee Prosperity Plan, and it looks at every constituency of our republic and say that in each of the constituencies, there should be activities that are enabled, youth-led activities that are enabled. And the details we will hear as the facilities get launched. This facility will be hosted by the government, list that you might have created. In the government, but with the collaboration, the development for the and also with the support of institutions like us. The target youth
he's standing in for Shafuda.
Would be the youth, the SMEs, and in this regard, as per our program, we will have short statements by the CEO of the Development Bank of Namibia, basically to bring out those aspects, the administrative aspects, which the bank is mandated by the shareholder, by the government. Then for the youth-specific products, because the host ministry is the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service, we would also hear from Honorable Tony, our Minister for Youth, Sport and National Service, on the policy behind this product and also the aspects to do with how best we can mobilize this product and brought to the market. With those remarks, Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor today to welcome you to this session. It is a session for us after the formal statements are delivered. We can engage the ministers on the particular details, we can engage the CEO on the particular details, and then after the launch, of course, further information will provide to the public, just at the time when the public have to take against the policy and take up these products and services. Having said so, I now wish to call on Mr. Ibrahim, CEO of the Development Bank of Namibia, to provide us with a short remark. I want to start by recognizing the presence of
development, welfare, youth. So these are four national service, economy, yes, I want to start by saying that the development bank of Namibia is a proud associated strategy. Communities as a growth it is important to structure
Give us the address, please.
Intergenerational transmission. In these activities, CBNC address both the short and the long-term development. One such activity that seeks to create long-lasting relationships in Namibian businesses is the SME financing strategy. This strategy will not only unlock finance for new SMEs, but it will also provide finance for existing SMEs to grow. We want to empower SMEs to sustain themselves across generations and to support economic growth for decades to come. As we are launching the SME financing program today, the DPN has been hard at work for several months, developing SME financing solutions and their implementation. The bank would like to make a long-lasting impact on development in Namibia. We would like to ensure that all the products under the SME financing strategy are structured with sustainability in mind. The credit guarantee scheme, which unlock finance for SMEs with low levels of collateral, is ready to invite commercial banks as from the 1st of December, and this will be announced later. As from the 1st of December, commercial banks can participate in this scheme. And I will elaborate a little bit how this works, because the application is through financiers and not by SMEs directly for the SME credit guarantee scheme. The skills-based facility will cater for the youth who want to establish their own businesses, either establish new ones or expand existing ones. Specifically on the skills-based facility, it has got three main pillars or requirements. That is, the applicant has to be a Namibian youth under the age of 35 at the time of launching their application. That is one. Two, the young entrepreneurs must present a practical and financially viable business proposition. That's also very important. And thirdly, the business concept or the business idea that this young entrepreneur is embarking upon must be aligned with that expertise or skill. Those are the three main requirements. It will of course be advanced and very maintained to pay for lateral interest rates and also technical contribution requirements. We hope that the youth in particular will make use of these opportunities and introduce innovative business concepts. The DPN is an active development agent, and we commit to rise up to the challenge of financing Namibian entrepreneurs and to play a leading role in the sustainable economic development.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for that statement. As we have said, we will allow a short window for questions later for clarifying some of the aspects. Then on our program, we have said the facilities that are being launched have a strong youth component. The purpose of growing the youth mainstream economic activity and unlocking that potential. And therefore, it's my honor and privilege to give the floor to Honorable Erasmus Tony, our Minister of support youth in national service to deliver statements on the particular aspects of the youth-based facilities.
Yes, thank you very much, Director Ceremony. Honorable Karen Redway, Minister of Finance, Honorable Secretary, Minister of Administration, Trade and SME Development, Honorable Deputy Minister, Agnes Matthias, Presidential Advisor, Youth Makers and International Development. The Executive Directors, of course, my ED Society and my Chairman. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. Mr. Martin Kumi, the CEO of Salon and Namibia. Mr. Kirola Chodongoro, CEO, National Specialist Insurance Association, Nasria, Acting Executive Chairperson, National Youth Council, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We did not go for lunch today. I'm honored this afternoon. I'm honored this afternoon to be part of this remarkable event that marks the implementation of a collective impact in government state. Today, we are providing answers to some of the strategies and desired outcomes outlined in Chapter 3 of the NDP 5, as well as the Harambee Prosperity Plan, pillar on economic advancement, and in particular, the sub-pillar on youth enterprise. After a month of determined efforts, I'm excited to finally, launch the 121 youth now start. This year, he said there's money is there. Colleagues at the constituencies, make sure that you make use of this opportunity. I don't know. That's what I want to say. From the onset, I would like to thank the Office of the Right Honorable Prime Minister for the support and various consultations we had towards the realization of this development. It is a well-known fact that Namibia, together with the rest of the world, is faced with a global jobs crisis that demands a bold response. To help meet this challenge, the Ministry of Sport, Youth, National Service believes that youth entrepreneurship can be part of the solution to transform unemployed young people into active members of the economy, self-sustaining and contributing significantly to the development of society. Unfortunately, we are aware that many young people from underrepresented and disadvantaged groups, example, women, youth, and unemployed, often face greater challenges in accessing startup financing, often due to lack of collateral and credit history. Clearly, in today and tomorrow's economy, the future of work is increasingly uncertain. In this regard, entrepreneurship can play an important part in facilitating economic development and job creation. While young people often turn to self-employment because they cannot find job elsewhere, entrepreneurship can provide them with valuable skills such as critical thinking, decision-making, leadership, teamwork, and innovation, all of which remain relevant for the rest of their lives. In general, they gain expertise in areas not incorporated in traditional mainstream education, constructing unique careers that resonate outside the typical economic model by pulling in talent from their peers and fostering positive community development. Director of Ceremony, access to finance is necessary, therefore, to create an economic environment that enables companies to grow and prosper. Young people possess many of the characteristics of the modern entrepreneurship that have been identified by leading economists and social scientists that include vision, enthusiasm, passion, flexibility, determination, and resilience. Therefore, increased access of finance for our youth and SME can improve economic conditions by fostering innovation and gross domestic product, GDP growth. Access to finance and capital is also one of the biggest constraints to the stability and growth of many of our existing SME and youth enterprises development in Namibia. Thus, the Harambee Prosperity Plan of the Youth Enterprises Development outlined 4 key desired outcomes. The Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service thus was tasked to establish youth-owned enterprises in all 121 constituencies by the year 2020. The single-minded objective in this regard is to stimulate economic activities, especially for young people in rural areas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to inform you all that the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service is well on target towards the realization of the set goal to establish a 121 rural youth enterprises. Early this year, the Development Bank of Namibia responded positively to the Ministry's call towards the capacity building of youth entrepreneurship. DBN thus offered a massive $1 million Namibian for training of over 484 youth or young people from all the 121 constituencies towards youth enterprises establishment. The training that was carried out in conjunction with the University of Namibia equipped the participating youth with better understanding of business principles for enhancement and management of the youth-owned enterprises. Furthermore, DBN also provided further assistance for a consultant, Dr. Haukongo from UNAM, to assist the youth in all 121 constituencies to finalize their business plans. I'm happy to announce that early this year, we registered 121 businesses, entities with BIPA for the youth enterprises. The next step then was to assist the enterprises to develop bankable business plan. And I'm pleased to report that thus far about 60 out of 121 business plans are ready for submission for financing risk. We invest to completing the remainder towards the middle of this month. Therefore, it is worth mentioning that innovation in the financial sector have shown that the entrepreneurial skills are bankable if the right lending mechanism is used. For young people, our experience shows that startup capital combined with a range of non-financial support, including monitoring and some of the most effective and efficient lending mechanisms to open up the potential opportunities of entrepreneurship. Empowering young people to build better lives will have a transformative effect on economic growth, social and community development. Our young people need to be provided with entrepreneurship skills, information, mentoring, and financial support they need in order to become successful entrepreneurs. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, allow me now to recognize and thank the Minister of Finance, Honorable Carlos Lettering, and his entire ministry, as well as Cabinet, for prioritizing the plight of our young people. The skill-based lending facility and SME financing strategy programs which you are launching today will greatly assist our young people, especially those that are skilled to create employment for themselves and others through entrepreneurship. We pledge our concerted and coordinated response across relevant actors in public, private, and civil society sector to recognize the value of non-financial support and expand access to capital to young entrepreneurs. Let me also wholeheartedly thank the Executive Director of the Ministry of Sport, Youth, National Service, Ms. Emma Kantema Gwamas, and the staff for your commitment and sleepless night towards making this event a reality. It was never easy from the onset, but you were so determined to achieving the set goal. Again, allow me to also thank the constituency councillors and our regional youth officers for their cooperation and assistance in this regard as well. Finally now, despite any challenges that we may face as a nation, we continue to believe that the future of our Namibian youth is very bright and exciting. The world is constantly changing with new opportunities emerging all the time, and true entrepreneurs will emerge. The youth should be rest assured that the government, through the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service, will provide the support and guidance that they need at all the time. Lastly, this is the last one. Let me also appeal to all young people who will benefit from these funding programs to ensure that they utilize the funds for the intended purposes and to pay back their dues as it will be expected of them. That way, I believe, we will be able to sustain the funds to benefit the current and the future generation. Meaning that if you are given this money, don't go and misuse it. You'll be given this money for a period that you have signed, and then you have to pay it back for your child, for your sister, for your brother, for the next person to come and utilize this money. This is what I want to inform. Now it's a time for young people to work hard. It's a time for young people to sweat. You have entered a life of hard work and sweating. So I wish you all the best. Your government is here to provide this facility. Make use of it, and you are welcome. I now have the singular honor to officially declare the launching of 121 rural youth enterprises, and I thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, and thank you so much for that powerful message. So the youth segment of the population, we are challenged to rise up into action, not any other than business. That our ingenuity, our mental energy towards business formulation, looking at the potential projects that we can put forth, so that they are put into assessment and assessed to bankability. And it's not only trying for the first time, it may require to try for the second time and the third time to have a bankable project. But the opportunity is enabled. Thank you so much, Honorable Tony, for that powerful message. which has reached out to the 121 constituency of the country. In terms of our program, even if we started off a little bit late, we seem to be doing good. And at this point in time, I now have the honor to call on Minister Shetwan, Minister of Finance, to give an official and statement, keynote statement, to launch the products, especially the products under the SME financing strategy and the skills-based youth lending facilities. My minister.
Thank you, Mr. Henry, who is the Director of Ceremonies for this launch. Honorable Erastus Utoli, Minister of Sport, Youth and National Service. Honorable Chikero Toya, Minister of Industrialization, Trade and SME Development. We had also invited Honorable Minister Kanji Murangi, the Minister of I like to stand when I talk to my audience. Are they not catching?
They are, but it would.
Okay. I hope we will manage. Put this here and then it will work. As I said, I have also invited my colleague, the Honourable Minister of Higher Education, Training and Innovation, and that was for the skills-based lending facility. She played an important role there. We had also invited Mr. Ikumbu Chimbi, the Governor of the Bank of Namibia. We have with us Mrs. Desiree Matias, who is the Presidential Advisor, Youth Matters and Enterprise Development. Are you also the acting chairperson? Well, we had invited the acting chairperson of the National Youth Council. We had invited the Development Bank of Namibia, who is represented by Mr. Ikumbi. Mr. Jorogoro is the CEO of Nasrea, who plays an important role in the credit guarantee scheme. I wanted to mention all those players, and sorry, Honourable Deputy Minister of Sports, Youth and National Service, Madam Agnes Changarero, and your ED, you are very welcome. It is just an indication how big the effort was to coordinate it between all the different role players that are important in youth and SME development. And I'm very thankful that we came to this stage where each of the role players played their little bit or their important part in bringing us together to a point where we can launch implementable instruments that are targeting, as the Honourable Minister said, not only youth, but also SMEs in general, to get our economy off the ground again. So thank you for joining us at this distinct and significant event. Today we launch the SME financing strategy, which is an offspring of the Namibian financial sector strategy and a joint partnership framework between the public and the private sector financiers. Alongside the specific suite of products and services of the SME financing strategy, and for greater scale and impact, we are also launching two other mutually reinforcing and impactful products, namely the skills-based lending facility for the youth and what has been launched already by my colleague, the funding facility for 121 constituency youth enterprises. The facilities will be implemented in collaboration with the Development Bank of Namibia. So our public finance institution that is incorporated in all of these instruments is the Development Bank. The bid for the designated SME financing strategy and the specific funding facilities for youth enterprises is to unlock the growth, unlock job creation and self-employment potential of the SME sector, which is estimated to be maybe around 30% of the economy. The total estimate of the informal sector is about 37%, of which SMEs are a significant component. Further, the policy imperative is to achieve the twin objectives of enhancing access to affordable finance and fostering entrepreneurship and SME development across a broad range of economic sectors in all regions of the country. So it is not sector specific, it is more target group specific, targets SMEs and youth. In furtherance of these objectives and to greatly diversify financing sources for entrepreneurs in medium, small sized enterprises, an SME financing strategy was crafted with a suite of tailor-made products to service a better and serve the needs in the Namibian SME ecosystem. After a number of surveys, perpetually it came out that access to finance is the #1 impediment for business startup. That is not so only for SMEs, it is in fact also for larger entities the #1 impediment, access to affordable finances. But it becomes, of course, even more difficult for a small and medium-sized enterprise or a startup, a young person who wants to start up, with no collateral base, with no experience, with no capacity to get access to finance in a situation where the corporate financial services sector is pretty risk averse against startups that can offer no collateral or only weak collateral or has weak capacity. So there was a desperate need to create an opportunity where we address the needs of affordable access to finance for youth and small and medium-sized enterprises. Therefore, the SME financing strategy encompasses 3 mutual reinforcing facilities, namely the credit guarantee scheme, which is to provide for collateral for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises without a collateral base. The fact that collateral or the demand for collateral is probably the most important and difficult hurdle to breach for startups. We have crafted a credit guarantee scheme that stands in for collateral. So if you make use of that credit guarantee scheme, the request for collateral is covered. Secondly, it's a venture capital fund to provide for equity capital to high growth SMEs, whereby the government assumes the first loss. That is an instrument that is still to come. We believe that equity financing, where an existing business takes up equity in a startup, is an important instrument through which you can breach the lack of capacity, the lack of experience, and the lack of capital. So venture capital through equity take-up is an important one. That will be rolled out later next year. And the third one is a mentorship and coaching program to provide requisite capacity building and mentorship from participating small and medium-sized enterprises. We believe that once access to finance is given, either through venture capital or the credit guarantee scheme, that startup must be having continuous assistance as it grows and as it starts, and therefore a mentorship and capacity building program latched onto the other 2 programs. The SME financing strategy is a smart partnership between and among government, the Development Bank of Namibia, commercial banks and other private sector financiers. The Bank of Namibia has played a key role in spearheading the formulation of the strategy and also contributed to the pooling of resources to jumpstart the strategy. The products are co-financed through financial sector participation, thus enhancing scalability, governance, and impact. Again, it is important to note that it is a collaborative effort to develop these strategies, but then also to pool resources to keep it sustainable. It is not only public resources that are here, it is private resources that are committed. And we believe that that is a formula for sustainability. Specific SMEs and entrepreneurship products which are launched. Today, we mark the launch of 4 distinct facilities. First, it's the skills-based lending facility for youth. Secondly, the funding facility for the 122 constituency youth enterprises. Thirdly, the credit guarantee scheme. Thirdly, the core elements of the mentorship and coaching program of SME financing strategy. It is of essence to set out the main features, expected coverage, and the commencing dates of these facilities, which I will do now, one after the other. First, let me turn to the skills-based lending facility for youth, which will be hosted by the Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Development Bank of Namibia. This facility will target the youth, with a high proportion being accorded to the youth aged 35 years of age and below as the time of application, and that is in line with the national definition of youth. It will target youth artisans such as plumbers, mechanics, technicians, fitters, turners, typical artisans, carpenters, all those artisan professions, and professionals such as pharmacists, medical doctors, lawyers, engineers. The split between the two, the artisans and the academics, if I may call them, is 60% for artisans and 40% for the professional component. That split is biased towards artisans because we believe that the professionals, the academics, have an inherent advantage to get access to finance over and above that of artisans. So the artisans need a little bit more assistance, hence the bias towards artisans. The facility will have an initial starting capital of 30 million, which is to be scaled up over the short and medium term. The government will ensure that these products are inclusive for women and youth with disability, cover both startups and existing businesses for as long as they are viable, and relax lending terms, collateral, and own equity requirements. So there's not a lot of emphasis on collateral because of the reasons that I've established further. Collateral is an impediment. We have now instruments that we can mitigate the need for collateral, and this is also relevant for the lending facility, the skills-based lending facility. Secondly, the funding facility of the 121 constituency youth enterprise is hosted by the Ministry of Youth, Sport, Youth and National Service in collaboration with the Development Bank. It aims to facilitate the establishment of 121 youth enterprises in all constituencies in line with the aspiration of the Youth Enterprise Development sub-pillar of the Harambee Prosperity Plan. I think Minister Tony has explained very ably what this facility is about. It's an important facility that brings about immediate activity in every constituency of the country. And I believe that is an important element. It does not only use access to finance, it assists the de facto establishment of a business in every constituency of the country. And I think that is an important step to have a seamless approach between access to finance and establish a business. As such, the facility will foster the establishment of youth-owned enterprises in both urban and rural constituencies of the country, thus contributing towards employment creation, entrepreneurship, development, and SME-driven economic growth on the back of a youthful demographic dividend. The facility will, as a start, be provided with funding for at least one project from each of the 121 constituencies nationally to be scaled up over time. It will commence at a total size of 8.5 million, which is to be scaled up over the time once bankable projects are identified and assessed. Such funding will also support the project preparation and assessment for bankability. So we will start at the earliest phase when project development is started, so to make sure that assistance is given towards bankability. And lastly, the project identification and initiation would start at constituency level in collaboration with the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service, as well as the National Youth Council. Both institutions will help in the identification of projects and then the follow-up steps. The credit guarantee schemes, the ministers, will be rolled out in collaboration with our Namibia Special Risks Insurance Association, NASRIA. The scheme is of particular significance in addressing the binding constraint posed by the lack of collateral for qualifying SMEs. The facility will provide collateral cover for qualifying SMEs, and it will commence with an initial size of 100 million, for which 2 million Namibian dollars will be dedicated to the establishment of the database for SMEs. The facility size will be scaled up over the medium term through greater public and private sector support. This is in line with the review and the reforms that we have brought about for NASRIA, which was a special purpose vehicle before. It is now a statutory body, fully fledged, to give a number of financial services in the insurance sector to our citizens. And it is broadened away from the special risk insurance that it originally was, which mandate it still keeps. I must emphasize the operational modalities of the credit guarantee scheme. SMEs and entrepreneurs will still continue to apply for credit at commercial banks. It is the financial institution which will apply for collateral coverage for the assessed bankable projects which have great growth potential but lack collateral. So it is not a direct facility, it is a facility as a result of an application at a commercial bank, which then in turn results in the demand for collateral. It is when that demand of collateral is brought, then we can cover it through a credit guarantee scheme. The mentorship and coaching program will provide tailored training and capacity building for beneficiaries of these facilities. Training and mentorship will be extended either directly by DBN or through specialized service providers in coordinating with similar existing initiatives at the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and SME Development, as well as Empletech. I think the Minister has launched Empletech. Empletech is a comprehensive program that aims at very similar target groups, and it aims equally at assistance, financial assistance, but also mentorship training, and it's an UN-based model. So we are running on parallel rails here because we do not want to miss out on assistance and expertise that the UN can bring to us over and above what we have developed our own. So to avoid bureaucratic impediments when we channel funds through our own public financial institutions, that is our own money, with that of international donor money, we have decided to run on parallel rails to not compete with each other, but to complement each other and grow the volume of assistance that we can give. So Apritech is an internationally based system that supports very much the similar objectives. The commencement date for these facilities is the 1st of December 2019, and entrepreneurs and SMEs are invited to start placing the applications from that date on. During the intervening period, the Development Bank will put in place the necessary administrative arrangements and requisite product information for the public. The Ministry of Finance, the Development Bank of Namibia, and collaborating institutions will proceed to finalize the modalities for the Venture Capital Fund and make a public announcement at a later stage, but it is not in the far future, it is very nearby. To conclude, honourable members, let me take this opportunity to thank all the collaborating institutions for effectiveness in the process of conceptualizing these targeted financing facilities. I want to thank the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service, the Ministry of Higher Education, Training and Innovation, the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and SME Development, the National Youth Council, the Bank of Namibia, and the financial services industry for the collaboration and partnership. I also wish to thank our development partners, particularly United Nations and GIZ, for technical support on these initiatives and similar initiatives to support SME development. The products we are launching today will have lasting benefits and lasting impact for SMEs, entrepreneurs, and the economy in general, in the form of wealth and job creation. I call for greater synergy, prudent financial management, and monitoring and evaluation during the implementation process. Inasmuch as the quality of outcome is needed for formal and vocational education to spur the long-term development potential of competitiveness of the national economy, we increasingly need greater alignment with market demand so as to facilitate effective labour market participation and employability. Equally, entrepreneurs and SMEs are invited to be more innovative, more entrepreneurial, and to hone their financial management skills as they take advantage of the financing opportunities presented by this package of tailor-made products. That was my story, and I thank you for your attention, and I hope that we will reap the fruits of this important suite of assistance packages in the very near future. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honourable Minister, for that elaborate but specific keynote statement. A keynote statement which unpacks these products that are being launched here today that are actually launched. So as they say, the proof in the pudding is in the eating, and therefore the market is challenged to rise into looking at bankable products to tap into these facilities. So this is bringing us to the near end of our program. But as we have said, it may be necessary to have a short interaction. So I would want to bounce it to yourselves, the members of the media, if you do have some specific questions. But of course, the statements of the ministers will be made available. These products, actually, even at the initial approval of these products, they have been public information already. So I would want you to be quite specific with your question, because we do not have too much of an extended time. And then I would wish that after the conversation, you would put forth a good story that could reach out to the greater public. So do I see a hand? So where's my colleague Tonateni to help me as well? Okay, so there is a hand there in the middle. So why don't we start with the gentleman? Yes, please. Identify yourself.
My name is Ndebu. I'm from Africa Productivity Specialist. I just have a bit of a question or a comment to make with regard to the 121. So you're saying each constituency will have one project. Now, if we divide the 8.5 by 121, it equals 70,000, which means someone must have a business for 70,000, buy equipment, buy land, pay somebody. Is that really 70,000 enough of an amount if we are taking equally fair constituency for the 8.5? Is 70,000 enough to empower somebody, to lift somebody, to be able to create more jobs for others?
Thank you. Maybe we can have another question. There was a hand there at the back. Any hand there? There was a hand. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. In the second, third row. Yes, please.
Yeah, my name is Erastus.
Is it for Minister Uchani or what? You said you are Erastus.
No, my name is Erastus. Right for business. Okay, I have three. The first one is for the 121. People are going to start business, but BBs are situated in Window. How are they going to register their business? They are already struggling coming to Window for those registration. So are you planning to centralize or something those services for all the constituencies? The second one, you say the SME is still going to be at the base of the commercial banks. Now, in terms of the lending rate, how are you guys going to regulate it? Are you going to give them a benchmark or a threshold that they should charge in terms of this and this? Or how is it going to be done? Since they are the one who are going to apply to Nigeria for collateral. Then the third one is on the collateral again. The main reason these guys haven't been funding us, they are complaining about the risk. What else are you guys going to do to make sure that you risk the SME? Or is it only the collateral? Does it really remove the whole risky thing that is coming from the SME, the defaulting and everything?
Okay, thank you. Maybe we could allow for the responses for now. For these four questions, there is a question about the 121 constituency, 70,000 or so. No, Uchani, you want to tackle the question?
Yes, let me try if I understand your question. If not, my colleagues will help me, and then they will intervene also. You are going too technical. You've already started with 70,000. I did not go so far, but maybe let me just share information like this. We, the Ministry of Sport, Youth, National Service, we have recognized the challenge of unemployment and unemployed youth in our 14 regions. That is now the 121 constituencies. And then we came up with a plan. What can we do to have these young people employed in their constituencies? Can we not mobilize these young people in those respective constituencies with their councillors? We said, okay, councillor, talk to your young people. What type of a business do they think they can come up with that they think is viable, can attract finances? So the young people came together. And then when they came together, they established that. And then we register that enterprises. And then we ask UNAM to help us through Development Bank of Namibia. We said, now these are the group of young people who have established this enterprise in the constituency. Now they also want to come up with a business plan. Can you look at this? UNAM look at that. As I've mentioned in my statement, that Dr. Congo was assisting them to see how their business plan will be able to attract finances. So this is the background of what we are trying to achieve. Now, as I said, maybe I did not follow very well on the calculation that we're looking at. I might not maybe entertain because I do not have that much technical calculation that I'll be able to give you. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. There was then a question about BIPA and in terms of business registration. And I'm looking at my senior and always
We
my...
did it already.
The BIPA part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can help him.
Yes, please.
There won't be a problem with registering the 121 enterprises. We have already done that. We already assisted them through the regional structure. So they are already registered, as well as the type of businesses they will engage in. That perhaps also to add, it is not about that each constituency will have exactly the same amount and exactly the same business. So they will vary. It is good to be too technical, but it is not necessary now because each constituency has already identified the type of business because they are already registered in which type of business, just as a start. So that was already done, my brother. But in general, the decentralization is on. So you can register at Muhembo, Ngoma, Ariamsflay, Ruakana. You can still register, though it takes a bit long, but we are in the process of fast-tracking the registration. But that 121, done. We have already cooperated. That's a synergy that the minister spoke about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, for that voice, SME development voice. Honorable Shetland.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to take issue with the 70,000 per project and the insinuation that that is too little. First of all, if you have listened carefully, we said that that will be scaled up over time. So this is a starting process where we have facilitated and funded all the assistance that is necessary to get these enterprises registered, applied, have bankable projects. So that is all financial assistance that has already been given, which is not part of this. The 70,000 is available, or the 8.5 million that is, at varied scales, is available for direct project funding. So there's no additional cost there. It may sound little, but for sure it is a start that must be embraced positively. I also believe that one has to see it as one component of the suite of packages that we offer. These startups have then access to the venture capital program. They have access to the mentorship program. They have access to the credit guarantee scheme. They have access to the SME portfolio in the DBN bank. So it is to be seen as a start into commercial business, which then opens access to all the other programs and facilities that we have. It is not a standalone facility in its own right and in its own silo that you can go out. It's the opposite. It is to facilitate you to get access to the whole suite of assistances that we get. And I think that takes me to your other questions, that is whether the total de-risking needs for SMEs, the total requirement for collateral and a comprehensive coverage of SMEs is covered by this 121 programs. The answer is no. Of course, we must see the whole comprehensive strategy of SME financing, SME development as the package that is pushed into the field to cover all risks. But we have taken important steps by addressing the number one problem of SME access to finance. That is collateral. We have put 100 million upfront to de-risk the main impediment for SMEs. We have taken the next step to develop a venture capital program where SMEs that are having weak capacity, weak technical expertise to partner up with equity partners, where a government will take the risk of the first loss. So again, it's a de-risking, a strong de-risking tool which opens up possibilities for SMEs that were hitherto closed and excluded. Now, the comprehensive coverage of SMEs is, of course, our ultimate target. We have redirected the Development Bank to reopen its SME portfolio. That was the old Development Fund portfolio. That is now opened again. So that whole facility is tailor-made to cover for SME needs. And I believe, again, seeing all these different components together, we are coming closer to a comprehensive coverage than we were ever before. Thank you.
So on the lending rate, the commercial banks lending rate.
Lending rate and the terms. Maybe Martin, you could briefly touch on this.
I can respond to that. As mentioned, yes, this is now for the credit guarantee scheme. SMEs will approach their commercial banks. Of course, the DBN is still having its SME window. So we are lending to SMEs. We have got an SME center. We have offices in 3 regions now, Rundu, Ongwediva, and Walvis Bay. And SMEs can go there and apply through the normal DBN SME lending program. That is the normal program that has been in existence, as the minister said, that was redirected to DBN and it's functioning. And every day we are giving loans to SMEs. Now the programs that have been mentioned here are special intervention, in addition to the DBN's normal SME lending window which is existing. So these are special intervention programs with a specific focus on young entrepreneurs. I also want to add that you can actually benefit as a young entrepreneur under the skills-based facility. And once you start, after a year or 2, you can actually go to the normal SME window for borrowing when you are scaling up your business. But what the SMO, the skills-based facility does, it actually provides a springboard for this young person who just graduated from a vocational training center as a plumber who wants just a small bucket and tools to start, get access to finance easier, and after a few months graduating, business volume is growing. You can apply either to the DBN SME program, the normal one, or you can go to any commercial bank. All commercial banks also give loans to SMEs. Now, a specific question here is those now enterprises, SMEs, who are now borrowing, who have been doing business with the commercial banks and they want to go to a commercial bank to apply for funding. The question was, what about the interest rates? Is interest rates not too high? The study that the Honorable Minister referred to as the basis on which this intervention emanated from, the finding was that interest rates is not the impediment. The impediment is access. In other words, commercial or SMEs are in fact just struggling to just get a commercial bank to say yes. And what are the issues? Is collateral primarily. So the bank, the commercial bank is saying, we like your business concept, it can work, we can give you the loan, but because of the risk involved, we would like to have some degree of collateral. And it's never 100% necessarily. If you are looking for a loan, it can be 80%, 60%, 70%, 50%. It's not always that you have to have 100% collateral. Now that's where the credit guarantee schemes comes in. So the commercial bank will do the assessment and say, we have this SME applicant, we have assessed them, that we like the business, it can work, it has potential, but we would like to have some collateral for just in case. So the commercial bank applies to the credit guarantee scheme, giving motivation, as we have said, and that will be verified. I also want to add that there is a sharing of risk. It's not only the credit guarantee scheme that will pay out in case of the default of this SME. Commercial banks are also taking risk in that they are not going to be guaranteed 100%. So there is a scheme, a sharing of risk in the scheme to guard against, yes. So on the issue of the interest, really I want to emphasize that the impediment that has been identified is not the level of interest rates, it's simply access. So commercial banks could continue charging at the rate, prime plus. I also just want to give you a typical example. If you go borrow a loan of 1 million from a commercial bank, now that interest of 1 or 2%, you can make a calculation. The gentleman was making a calculation on a 1 million per month is anything between $600 to $1,100. Now, if you are unable, if the business was not able to pay the installment of that, it's not the interest rates that is going to make the business non-viable. So, because the interest rate differential per 1 or 2% is very minimal on the impact of the business. The biggest challenge is simply to get the bank to say, yes, I can give you money to start.
Thank you so much for that elaboration. I want to recognize the presence of the National Youth Council, Ms. Hapulile, I'm told she's here, and to say that actually in the coordination of these products, not only with the ministry but also the National Youth Council that formed part of the collaboration effort, and going forward that collaboration effort would continue. Now let's do this. I know that this is appetizing, this is great. Martin and the bank would be there to provide information going forward. There would be a hotline, right? And products information and all that type of thing. So I would want us to do last or second last, if I'm too liberal. Question that is not asked before, or that's not really referred to. Only. So I have 3 hands, 4. I said there's a whole right. So all right. So the gentleman at the back. That's you. Yes.
They must go in the hotline.
Yes.
Thank you.
Francisco, I am an entrepreneur myself. However, my interest of coming here was very simple. I wanted to hear something on social entrepreneurship. Has the scheme been provided? Has the process the platform that has been provided, does it also cater for social entrepreneurship? The reason why I'm saying this is simple. Beforehand, I would like to congratulate all the institutions for working hard for creating this platform for entrepreneurs. It helps a lot in society. However, social entrepreneurship is something that creates far more jobs than just entrepreneurship itself. But there are so many bureaucratical procedures in place that demotivates people that are into social entrepreneurship to an extent whereby they then take themselves out of that, that focus of I'm a social entrepreneurship into just an entrepreneurship, because the difference between the two is one is working towards providing for the community, and the other one is self, but obviously by also employing and so forth. And you lose a lot. The community, the country itself loses a lot of employment opportunity, growth, and so forth and so forth. So, with the platform that is already created, are there future perspectives, or is it gonna go into a direction where it's gonna also help? I personally know dozens of young people into social entrepreneurship.
I think it's clear, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So let's have our questions to the point. So the gentleman here.
Okay. My name is Edward. I'm a journalist. I just want to find out, to hear from the finance minister, perhaps these products that you have come up with and you've launched today, are they? Is it fair to say this is the replacement of the now defunct SME bank? And number 2 is, I was listening carefully, perhaps the founders of these products, how many jobs do you intend or do you wish to create through this? And lastly, this is an election year and the youth vote is very important, and the launch of this comes just a few weeks before the 27th of November. Is it a coincidence or perhaps strategic, perhaps also earn your politicians at the end of the day, to earn you more votes, especially from the youth side. Thank you.
That sounds like the last question of all questions. Okay, so we must manage this. So I'll take one more, and then I'll take one more, and then we will have the last round. And then the rest of the questions for sure. The ministries are available for questions. The development is available for questions because we cannot exhaust everything for sure. Right? So your floor, sir.
Not for profit.
Yes. What?
Just gender safe.
Gender safe.
Yeah, there's no female.
Oh, okay. So we are defeated. Gender safe. Okay. Is that your name? Introduce yourself.
I'm just worried mainly about the innovators and the social entrepreneurs, because mostly the banks are scared, especially for innovators. You are starting something new, whether it's collateral or not, they're always scared whether your innovation is going to work out. Now this is something I say that is working best in Botswana. What they are doing is they are taxing on Apple, and this is one of the biggest issues here in the region. Let me say per year that everyone buys, we take a 50% and then create a grant that really development program that is managing, because they are doing what they can actually. So we have that grant that is just aimed at social entrepreneurs and also people that are coming up with new ideas that not everyone knows that it's going to work out for them. So when someone gets a grant from this, they get up to 50%, and then the other ones we do invest in the situation.
Okay, great, thank you. That's a contribution, right? And well, the Minister of Finance must be able to mention the word tax in the whole conversation. nobody mentioned it. Okay, so because that was just a contribution, let me take the last question. Then we go for the last round after the responses to this question.
Mine is actually a big question.
Who are you, sir?
Sorry, I am Travolta. I am a self-employed technician. Mine is actually a big concern because I can see there's an initiative that there's a lot of money involved here, and for young people like me to start businesses. But the question is, how are these businesses going to be monitored? Because there are two types of businesses: the one that brings money in the country, and then the ones that take money out of the country. So now, if you give me a grant and I'm going to use that money to go to another country, buy products and sell it here, that means we are still damaging our country. Did you guys look into that factor? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Now let me. So the questions are put, Honorable Ministers, CEOs, my bosses. So there was a question about social entrepreneurship, and I was wondering whether Martin would in the end say, in the package of things, whether the products cover all. So what is the boundaries around the products? Then there are questions about, are these products a replacement of the defunct SME bank? How many jobs? Those type of questions which I would think Minister of Finance could tackle, but they could be shared. Then there is the aspect of M&E flows and outflows of capital. Minister, you want to have a bite on this?
Thank you very much. The first one on social enterprises or entrepreneurs. Yes, I agree with you. Different types of entrepreneurship has different impacts. We have not distinguished in our approach whether we favor the one or the other. So we are completely open, and these facilities are available for any type of entrepreneurship that is there, be it business interests only and individuals or social enterprises. That's the answer to it. I hear you. It is, the impact may be different, but we have not distinguished between the one or the other as a criteria whether you are in or out. It depends on the viability of the business. It depends on your ability to convince the financial institution that your project is bankable and viable. Is it a replacement of the SME bank? Was the next question. Well, that's a typical question from a journalist. But I want to help the journalist. Have you read the Harambee plan that was published in 2016?
April 2016.
Have you read that? In that Harambee plan, all these facilities were mentioned with targets. So it is not a replacement, it is just a response to the need of SMEs that has always been there. And we wanted to, in fact, at that point in time, supplement the SME bank and its facilities through this targeted approach. But we now turn it around. Since the demise of the SME bank, we have broadened it, and we have restarted the SME facility in the development bank and latched the projects in a suite to everything. So it is not a replacement of the SME bank. And by having said that, it is also not an electioneering tool because it is a couple of years old. We believe that the responsiveness to the cry of young entrepreneurs and SMEs was loud and clear. We put it in the Harambee plan, we put it in the B5, we put it in the financial sector strategy. This is now bringing us to the de facto implementation of these strategies to respond in a factual way, in an impactful way to that need of the economy. Of course, and if you want to have some electioneering arguments, of course we say that SWAPO Party is a responsive party. We are the party that is responsive to the youth, is responsive to the needs of SMEs, and is that a fault? No, I think it's good. If we wouldn't have been, that would be a way to vote against us. But this shows that we are in for the long haul. We have started about the strategy a long time back. We are now implementing it. So vote for SWAPO. It's a good thing because you will have the benefit. Now, I think the question of the young lady was talking about risk capital in bringing innovation into a business concept. I think it's a good idea. We believe that either the skills-based lending facility or the venture capital facility can be tweaked to accommodate that. And we believe it is an important aspect because if you read the ratings of Namibia's capacity in innovation, we are pretty low. There was of recent a small improvement. But yes, I think that is an important aspect that needs to be taken on board, and we can look at what Botswana is doing and learn from what is working well there and incorporate it in the scheme. It is an invalid point taken. Now, your big concern, I think it's interesting that you think a loan is a grant. It is not. You have to pay it back. But what your concern is a real issue. These facilities do not exclude businesses or entrepreneurs that are trading businesses. So they are included. But the main target is to be more than trade. We want businesses that create productive capacity. We want businesses that take a raw material, put it into a value chain, make something out of the value it is created and share that better in the economy. Trade is only one aspect of that. Trade only helps and adds only the markup of the commodity as an additional value in the economy. But if you take a raw material, you bring that through innovation, through processes, through through value addition to a finished good and then trade with it, then you have each value chain that contributes to the economy. So we believe that an entrepreneurship or an entity that is involving itself in manufacturing or in adding value to a commodity and then trade with it would be a preferred entity to have access to these facilities over and above one that only wants to trade. But traders are not excluded. If it is a good trading proposition, we will, of course, also consider it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Yes, Honorable.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to add more especially to the question here. And the question raised is to how many jobs will be created. Yes, it's not a question of electioneering, as he said. Harambee Prosperity Plan has stated it clear about the programs that we have concern the young people. Early last year, June, we started moving with that plan, more especially when it came to 121. We started going to the regions. That was the starting point now. That was the action. Now that you are saying it's because of the electioneering, no. We started already. And then we started registering these young people, these enterprises. This year in June, end of June, we took these young people who registered their business in Ombodiva for training. And it's a process. It's only that we put ourselves a target. It's only unfortunate that this is the month of the election, and that is the month we put ourselves a target. That's unfortunate. The issue of creating jobs, how many jobs are we going to create through this process? Yes, it's a process. We want to experience and then to see how these businesses are going to function and then to be effective enough. So we are going to develop a database, and then tomorrow we'll be able to tell you that this is the job that we have created. We can't say now, yes, because of these facilities that are available, this is the job that are going to be created. Of course, we can estimate, but it might not be accurate.
Can you give the estimate?
10 per constituency.
Excuse me.
Projected.
10.
Can you just say it?
SED?
Okay. As mentioned, the constituencies are 121, and the core group consists of 10 members. So when you take 10 times 121, it will already equate to 1,210. But obviously, that's only the core. Then all the members in the constituencies are welcome to join in that activity. So you can just imagine the multiple effect of that. Thank you.
We can also add that the Development Bank has established a method that we have asked them to do, and for each financial instrument they push into the field, the most important target that they have to report on is how many jobs have they created with rolling out that instrument, whether it's a loan or a credit guarantee scheme or whatever. And you will see in the annual report, there is with each loan group and report of how many jobs they have created.
Yeah. Maybe Martin could say, make some qualified statement.
Yeah, well, I can only confirm what the Honorable Minister just mentioned. We do produce a development impact report. We have been doing that now over the past 3 years. We continue refining it. And in the development impact report, you will find quite all the statistics about the bank's lending activities. How much money the bank has advanced per sector, whether it's infrastructure, manufacturing, tourism, and so on, per region as well. And also you will find statistics about the bank's lending to the youth, to women, and also the bank's impact on employment for that particular year and for the portfolio. So that report, the development impact report, is available.
Right, so is there any last pressing question? Two only. Please, short, to the point. One question per person. 3 hands and that's it. Because then we have to spend other time also then thinking about the businesses that we bring. So, Seth, who's that? Yes?
I'm Ibrahim Nashibu, I'm from Two Pills. Initially, when
From two what?
Two Pills.
Or two pills?
No, Two Pills. It's a tech company. Initially, when we started, we were trying to raise funds with the banks, especially then we got rejections. But then we discovered there were other alternative methods of getting funds, such as we came up with a stage whereby we wanted to invent our own coin, same as Bitcoin, and then we could raise funds through that. But alternatively, we ended up getting blocked by policies now. Has this initiative done anything to change some of the policies to accommodate us now, innovators? Because as I understand up to this stage, there is really no institution that caters for technology-based enterprises.
Whether technology-based enterprises are covered?
Yeah. No, they are not covered at the moment.
So your question is whether they could be covered?
Yeah, they could be covered if they have alternative policies that are not acting as a barrier for us to come up with other alternative methods of getting finances.
Okay, good. So the Minister of Finance is whispering an answer, but he will say it later. Okay, next. Yes, next your neighbor.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Vista. I'm from I just want clarity. First of all, are there some constituencies that have already chosen individuals? And is it one individual per constituency? Also, I have 10. Is it 10? One initiative with having 10 individuals in a constituency, or is it 10 initiatives with 10 individuals in that initiative? That is just another question. And also, I also have an issue with policy. We have we are into primary healthcare. There's people that have been doing primary healthcare in this industry already, but then we have some innovations that we've been trying to introduce. We need cash for that, but no one knows what we're doing there. Like, what does that? So we could not get cash for that. So is there someone that in this initiative that was launched now that we could probably, bounce our ideas off, and then like I heard the word innovation. So like new ideas, things that have never been done before. Are they welcome here, or is it just the traditional forms of doing business that are being funded?
Okay, I think that's clear. So my ET, the question about how many per constituency and so on, I'll try to float to you. The Minister could supplement. Maybe the Martin also. It could be on the healthcare issue and which businesses are covered. Right. So the last. Okay. So please.
Afternoon, everybody. I am Mandume or Vladimir. I'm self-employed as well. I'd like to applaud every government institute that is part. I think many of us don't appreciate it, but it should be mentioned. Doesn't matter the amount. There is some individual or entrepreneur that would appreciate the amount that is being funded. Myself, I'm a recipient of an NCRST grant. It was $500,000. I never received it because the economy went. Everybody said the economy. So I just wanted to make a statement and say, I hope the funds that are coming from here won't be withdrawn. Because not only does it delay progress as in employment, innovation, because NCRST is for innovation as well, for those that don't know. But the funding that was allocated has been withdrawn, and there's one business that I know of the 30 businesses that have actually succeeded due to the funding, because funding was capped. So just side note that please do carry through it and not just like the journalists asked for, is it election? And I'm not against SWAPO, I'm a SWAPO member. So
okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the point. So we'll fiscal consolidation withdraw funds. So thank you for the point. All right, so I would want us then to move in the final set of answers that the honorable ministers and executive officers could give. And then we close off. So Namibia's own Bitcoin, so is it having space here there was a question about the number of participants or projects per constituency. Maybe we would start with Honorable Minister on this innovative coin or whatever, and then we'll come to the question of projects.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, the whole topic of cryptocurrencies and how well they are, for now, we do not consider any cryptocurrency an investment. It is at best a very speculative instrument that you are partaking in. So in fact our advice, which was confirmed by the Bank of Namibia and the IMF, be very careful where you put your money in these mining of cryptocurrencies or so. Some people made a lot of money very quickly, but there are big questions about sustainability of it. And I can substantiate it. You see, cryptocurrency means it's another currency. So the first question that people ask, what is wrong with our currency if you need to replace it with a cryptocurrency? And the question is relevant because a currency's value is pegged to the country's GDP. A cryptocurrency is pegged on a blockchain chance of a transaction. There's not real value behind it. So it is an area which is still developing. So I'm not saying it will not come to something at some point in stage, but at the moment we believe it is a risky thing to partake in, and we know of many people who lost their life savings in it. So for now we don't consider it as an investment, and we will not give you a loan to buy cryptocurrencies. But what I like about you is that you try to be innovative, to get out of a squeeze and find yourself a way out of that squeeze and do what you did. And you were lucky, you were successful, it looks like. You made some money out of it. So, but there's the Deputy Governor, he can maybe tell you more about cryptocurrencies and the risks in them. But for this scheme, I don't think we will consider that as an applicable area to fork out money for. But that is not to stifle any other innovation. You know, your question about innovation is still very relevant. So if it is an enterprise that tries to bring a financial service to the market that through an innovative arrangement, that is a good approach that would be covered and would be applicable to be a beneficiary of the law. I think the same thing is with the healthcare situation. We believe it's a very good area to be in. Health services is a huge need in our country. We need to move in a way where we do not offload all the needs of an health services to the public sector. I think there is, especially in primary healthcare, a lot of potential for good business that can bring health services, especially primary ones, affordable at affordable rates to citizens. So innovative ways there, brilliant. I believe that in the same way that we answered the lady that offered advice on the Botswana scheme, we will craft some instrument that talks to innovations and how to bring innovative ideas into a business concept and to the market. So I think it is, but healthcare is a good spot to be in. The last comment where funds are withdrawn, I can just give you some surety that these schemes and the figures that we gave here, that money has been dispersed. So it is available and it will not be withdrawn. Obviously we believe in sustainability, and we have factored these obligations into into the MTEF, that's the medium-term expenditure framework. So there won't be sources available for all these schemes that we have launched today, plus those that are still come, like the venture capital. We appreciate your concerns that if you roll out and you withdraw, that is more damaging than not having rolled it out in the first place. So that point is taken.
Yeah, thank you so much. Then there was this question of is it one project per constituency? Is it 10 people? And I thought ED could actually take that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for the question. As exposed by my minister in his remarks, the approach that we followed to establish this 121 enterprise was by using the existing local structures, and including also the regional local structures. You've heard my minister alluding to the regional councillors who were involved and our regional youth officers. So with other words, through those structures, a management was then formed in terms of the 10 members, and then one business idea or several business ideas are then being developed, but it's for the one constituency. So it's not 10 several initiatives, but for the one. And also to mention, worth mentioning is that we are encouraging the youth to use comparative advantage of that constituency. So where there are natural resources that they can use as a business plan, that's what we are encouraging. And we are also not discouraging innovation. That's also part of the business plans that we're encouraging, because we don't want to see only enterprises like hairdressing, selling of sweets and all the other stuff, but you really want to encourage innovation, and we want to add value as well to that particular constituency. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have exhausted largely, and I would think that this was really a healthy, open conversation of an important topic and of a huge milestone actually for the SME sector, for the youth segment of our population. And I would think that we would then move into action. To launch actually is to enable those actions. We are welcoming you notice that our Executive Director, Minister of Finance, Madam America Shafadi, just joined us from another important, equally important obligation. The Deputy Governor Bank of Namibia, but wait, he is here as Commissioner Designate, Acting Commissioner Designate for the Namibia Revenue Agency. What, doubling both. Both my ED, DG, and Acting Commissioner Designated worked very hard actually to contribute to the realization of the products that we launched today. And I'm glad that they have been able to witness, albeit at the tail end of this, but this is just the beginning of the greater scale. Right? So thank you so much for the conversations. We are coming to an end of our program, and our friend, my friend Desiree Matthews, this is a milestone come true. We have worked days and nights to make sure that for the youth enterprise development, we have realized a tangible output that we put out there to the constituency. And also for the SME part. So therefore it's fitting. I know that you have forgotten about the lift, kind of elevator thing. So this is an appropriate moment to call on you to give the vote of thanks on what we have been able to do and what our ministers have enabled as part of this program. Please, the floor is yours.
I'll stand as well. Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings, Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Minister of Sport, Youth and National Service, Honorable Minister of Trade, Industrialization, SME Development, Honorable Deputy Minister, Executive Directors, Senior Government Officials, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, if there's still any left in the room. I'm thankful to be a part of this program and to participate in this milestone launch occasion. It's even more important to me because the elevator became an enemy of progress this morning and almost prohibited me from participating. I should close by recognizing the joint launch and the nature of this launching. You see the Ministers of Finance coming together with the Minister of Sport, Youth and National Service, witnessed and supported by the Minister of Industrialization, Trade, SME Development, and in absentia, our Minister of Higher Education, Training and Innovation, which really talks to the deepening of collaboration, of institutional collaboration, and also improving coordination and alignment in the programs that we are bringing forth, public programs that we are putting to market. And I think this joint effort is one that should be appreciated, and I ask you to give us, the ministers and the stakeholders, a round of applause. To say thank you for the leadership that you have provided. It's been a long time coming. Our leader and our president, His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, has from the onset set a very high premium on youth development and also the economic empowerment of young Namibians. In the Harambee Prosperity Plan, which is our government's accelerated development plan, but also in the NDP5 and also rooted in the SWAPO Party manifesto, we see that youth matters have always been elevated and due priority has been attached to the different dimensions that are affecting youth development and empowerment. Not only because we have political imperative, we also have a moral imperative, and really, as our president has often stated, that this is a matter of smart governance, sustainable governance. Our development gains will be undermined if we do not achieve in the capacitation and empowerment of young Namibians. He has often said that development or prosperity that is not shared, growth that is not inclusive, we're not going to be able to sustain. So with our demographic dividend, we have to be intentional, produce products that are targeted and responding to the challenges but also the opportunity of the day. We have a young demographic profile, and it's up to us to facilitate as government to create a more enabling environment where we can unlock the productivity of those who are enterprising among us. While entrepreneurship, it has been alluded to, is not the silver bullet to reducing unemployment and creating jobs, it is certainly a very strategic tool that our government is leveraging in order for us to, within this broader and multi-dimensional war against poverty, it is a tool that we want to leverage to generate wealth, to reduce income inequalities, and create economic empowerment opportunities for young people. The sum total investment of 150 million through these innovative and diversified financing products affirms government's commitment to responding to the hurdle of non-collateralized lending. Entrepreneurship and SME have different challenges. The challenge with young startups in Namibia today is the direct consequence of our historic systemic exclusion of our parents, who could not accumulate the wealth with the keys to earth. Many of young Namibians who want to enter today have to begin from the ground up. And it is this that has informed government's policy and the design of these special purpose programs so that they can respond to this hurdle of non-collateralized lending. The credit guarantee scheme is an innovative product which government is putting to market. And we should not despise these humble beginnings, but rather we should maintain the broader view and the broader objective. Our single-minded objective, when we talk about economic empowerment of young people, we want to see these efforts translating into the increased management of the economy, but also ownership of productive assets of those economy. We see you as the industrialists who are going to own and develop these productive assets in our economy. Through this bouquet of financing products, which is in addition to the existing SME portfolio within the DFIs and commercial banks, we are hoping that we will put together and strengthen all the levers that are existing within our entrepreneurial ecosystem. I cannot overemphasize the importance of business incubation, business advisory services in this process. We have put to market a product that will walk and hold the hand of beneficiaries with the aim to reduce the mortality rate of these enterprises. Once the investment has been made, we want to make sure that it is sustainable and growth-oriented and creating jobs, decent jobs. And we will continue in these efforts to support those young people who are venturing into trade and commerce. I must emphasize the principle of shared accountability and putting skin in the game. Government does not create the jobs, but we create an enabling environment and we facilitate the establishment of these jobs. The onus is on the entrepreneur to make sure that this enterprise is competitive and sustainable. In conclusion, Honorable Ministers and young Namibians, I should express appreciation, I believe, on behalf of His Excellency the President, who put these programs into his Harambee Prosperity Plan as a priority program within the pillar of economic advancement and specifically the sub-pillar of youth enterprise development. We appreciate all the stakeholders who have worked tirelessly to deliver on this commitment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Desiree. We have been welcomed at the beginning. We are thanked. We have come now to the end of our program. And in fact, then what